Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Alapatu, and I'm the softball administrator for the IESA. I wanted to take an opportunity today to touch base with schools, coaches, administrators about some updates to IESA softball for this coming school year. One, just housekeeping change. Originally, the plan was that I would not have softball this year, but we have switched back and I will be overseeing IESA softball this year. So I just wanted to make that clarification, different from what we had told schools earlier in the spring. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. I'm looking at a couple different screens here, so bear with me as I have a couple different pieces of material that I am looking at as we go through this information. And the first thing that I wanted to cover were changes to IESA rules. Terms and conditions wise, there are not too many changes, but there are a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Any changes that are in the softball terms and conditions are shaded in gray and they're highlighted if you look online, so you can see hopefully easily what new things there are for softball this year. Just a clarification, on a school's record, a forfeit counts as a game played, and in your record online, that score should be recorded as 7-0. So the question has come up, does a forfeit count? It does count as a game that's played. New this year are roster changes. We have an online roster deadline that will be just before regionals, and schools will be getting information and emails from me reminding them to make sure that they complete that by the deadline. Once that deadline hits, schools will have up until 4:00 p.m. on Tuesday, September 5th. That is the day before regionals begin to make any last minute changes. As of 4:00 on Tuesday, September 5th, rosters are final, so no changes can be made. So coaches, administrators, please make sure you are double checking to make sure all students that you want on your roster are listed. Free entry into the state finals should your team advance to the state finals on Friday and Saturday, September 22nd and 23rd. Those free entries are limited to those that are on the online roster. From your school's database, we'll pull in who your principal, superintendent, and athletic director are, but any coaches and players that should be entering for free need to be included on your online roster. So we will no longer have a pass gate list for those state finals teams. We'll just use what information you've already submitted online. And like last year, those IESA activity passes are not permitted at the state finals for anybody. And then finally, one change that we have had to our ejection policy is that any fan that is ejected from the state series, that would be a quarterfinal game, semifinal game, or the third place or championship game during the state finals, are not permitted to return. So if a fan is ejected from the semifinal game and the team is advancing to either the third place or the championship game, that fan is not permitted to return for the remainder of the state series. When each of you got your mailing for softball this year, there were several documents included in that. One of the things that was also included in there was the National Federation Softball Rules Book. This is what it looks like. It's not too thick, but this is not something that we post online. It's included in your mailing. When you get your softball rules book, that should be shared with the softball coach. Again, they make a note of and an indication of any rules changes, and I'm going to read through those very quickly here. Those are also included in the front pages of the NFHS rules book, what those changes are. The first change is to Rule 152C. The taper is a transition area which connects the narrower handle to the wider barrel portion of the bat. The taper shall have a conical shape. Language requiring the taper to be of solid surface has been removed from the rules book. The next modification is to Rule 321 regarding uniforms. While uniforms of team members shall be of the same color and style, state associations can permit players to participate while wearing a different style uniform for various reasons. That permission needs to come through me, so if you have a question about your uniform, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email at our office. Next, we have Rule 327 regarding exposed undergarments. Exposed undergarments, if worn, are considered part of the official uniform. All exposed undergarments shall be a solid single color, black, white, gray, or a school color. For individual players, exposed upper body undergarments do not have to be the same color as exposed lower body undergarments. And for all team members, exposed upper body undergarments shall be the same solid single color, and all exposed lower body undergarments shall also be the same solid single color. Garments other than team uniforms, such as arm sleeves, leg sleeves, and tights, are permissible, and anything that is worn on the arm or leg as a sleeve except a brace and shall meet the color restrictions. So please make sure that your coaches review that. Sometimes we have some areas of the state that have cooler weather as we get a little farther into September. So if there are undergarments that are being worn by team members, they need to be in compliance. Rule 3215, all equipment shall be inspected by the umpire and is to be placed outside the dugout or bench prior to the start of the game. That is the responsibility of each team and the coaches to make sure that their equipment is outside prior to the start of the game. And then finally, Rule 367, players and substitutes shall not enter the contest unreported. The umpire shall issue a warning to the coach of the team involved, and the next offender on that team shall be restricted to the dugout or bench for the remainder of the game. The head coach is also restricted to the dugout or bench for the remainder of the game for a second violation. So that is a recap of the National Federation rules changes for softball. Again, those are indicated at the beginning of the softball rules book, so please make sure that you review those and are aware of those changes from last year to this year. I'm going to go through a couple of things as far as questions that I get often. The first one being whether or not a student can be on a non-school team and a school team at the same time. The IESA does not have a policy regarding this, so we do allow a student to, or I shouldn't say we allow, we don't have any restrictions saying you can't be on two teams at the same time. That is up to the local school to decide. So oftentimes when I get that question, whether it's from a coach or whether it's from a parent, I'm directing them back to their school administration. School administrators, you need to make sure that you know where your school stands on that policy. And if you don't have a policy in place, that might be something to start thinking about, what are we going to say? Are we going to allow this or are we not going to allow this? Because ultimately that is not our decision to make. That is up to you. So I don't want to speak on your behalf about what your policy is for your school. The next question that I'm asked often is whether or not the regional host is responsible for hiring the officials. So here in our office, I look at it two different ways. I have the IESA designated regional host, and then I also have the regional quarterfinal host. Those may or may not be two different schools. So when I am designating the regional host, that regional host is responsible for the regional semifinal game and the regional championship game. They are hosting the game at their facility, whether that's on site at their school or a park near their school, and that school is responsible for getting the officials for that game. Just a reminder, any officials that are hired for regular season or state series contests must be IHSA licensed officials. For the regional quarterfinal game, the host of the regional quarterfinal game is the higher seeded team in that game. So once brackets are released, I will send an email out to schools reminding them if you are the higher seeded team, you are the regional quarterfinal host. That regional quarterfinal host may also be somebody that I've already designated as the IESA designated regional host. But if not, there are some instructions online available on the softball website if you're a quarterfinal host. Just a couple of things that you might want to make sure you take care of doing as far as getting the field ready, securing officials, and other items in regard to hosting that contest. As we were just talking about the host of the regional quarterfinal game, that reminded me about brackets. A change that is made to IESA this year, for IESA this year, is that once the ranking process has been completed and brackets have been posted online, you're able to go into your member center and look at your regional, and you can see how each of the teams in the regional ranked other teams. So we want you to be aware that how you rank other teams will be made public to the other schools in your regional so that everybody can see how ranking was completed. Our goal was to continue to be transparent in this process and allow you to see that information. The next question that I have been fielding quite a bit, because practices were able to start on Monday, July 24th, is about coaching certification. Coaches that are working with your program are required to meet the IESA coaching certification requirements. Those are available in our handbook. They are also available online. Your coaches that are working with your students could be head coaches, assistant coaches, volunteer coaches. If you have high school students that are helping out coaching, if they are assisting coaching, they also do not need to be coaching certified. However, they do need to be under the direct supervision of a certified coach at all times. At no point can a high school student be left alone to supervise the junior high students on your team or to coach them. So in the event the coach isn't able to make it to practice, a high school student cannot take the place of the coach by themselves. All coaches, high school coaches, volunteer coaches, assistant coaches, and head coaches must meet the state mandated concussion certification requirement. School administrators, you were able to log into your member center and check to see which of your coaches have met that requirement. If you have a question about whether or not a coach has met that requirement, please feel free to give our office a call. We're happy to work with you to make sure that everybody working with your school's program is in compliance. That's the bulk of the questions that I have gotten. The last thing that I wanted to hit and make a special note about is sportsmanship. You'll see in the next few weeks that we will be sending out a video regarding sportsmanship from the IESA, but my plug regarding sportsmanship is that it's important we all remember that as adults, we are the models for our students, and that could be coaches, parents, and administrators. We have to remember that IESA softball and IESA athletics is interscholastic athletics, and the goal is to provide a positive experience for the students. Remember to cheer for your team and not against another team. Be supportive of the officials and the coaches, all of them that are working at a contest. And at the end of the day, we ask that you represent your school well. School administrators and coaches, if you would like to submit a good sport report at any time throughout the season, you can do that through the sportsmanship page on the IESA website. If you see a team doing something that really demonstrates sportsmanship or citizenship to you, if you see a student from another school or an official or a coach, we want to hear about those good things that are happening throughout the state, and we want to be able to share that information through social media and on our website and make sure that their school administration is aware. So if you have any good sports that you want to report to us, please feel free to reach out. You can also email me directly at leslie@iesa.org. That is all I have for you today. We wish you the best this season. Good luck. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.